position group 1 through 8. And so we'll start here with the quarterbacks. Who are you taking as number one quarterback left in the playoffs?
I'm going to go with Packers. Aaron Rodgers, number one. They also have Jordan Love and Kurt Benkert. Kurt Benkert's a good follow on Twitter, so that moved him up a little bit higher for me. He's funny, but I don't love Jordan Love as a backup. So if, Rodgers got hurt for whatever reason, that would really bring him down this list. But he's been the best. I mean, he's been probably the MVP. He's got a little bit of argument with Brady for sure this year, but he's probably been the MVP this year. Yeah, I mean, pretty much unstoppable all season long. So you got to put him number one.
I'm going to go number 2, Tom Brady. And I think playoff Tom Brady is even different than regular season because I might actually have one up person ahead of him and another, if it's a regular season, but a playoff Tom Brady is as a quarterback I don't want to mess with. So, and despite he also had, obviously, you mentioned he's in the MVP conversation. He had he threw more touchdown passes than his age, which is impressive despite him being almost 45.
If he keeps doing that, that's
no one's catching those records. Let's just say that if he keeps doing it.
No.
So yeah, I kind of went back and forth a little bit here, but playoff Tom Brady is the guy I'm going to take first. So
yeah, I mean, I didn't really consider putting him above Rodgers, but I had
Rodgers
a little bit of a there is a little bit of a he's always been better than Rodgers in the playoffs, so you never know. But yeah, I mean, he's still got to have Rodgers number one probably. Number 3, I'm actually going to go with Josh Allen and the Bills here. Debate back and forth a little bit with Stafford.
Oh, really? That's who you debated with?
And Mahomes. Stafford and Mahomes are a little bit closer for me, but I actually look at it as I put a little bit more weight in the whole room. And Mitch Trubisky's a better backup than Chad Henne.
Anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. I love Chad Henne, but Mitch Trubisky's a little bit better. So I'm going to go with Josh Allen, mostly off of the incredible performance in that first week too. I mean, he's trending up a little bit in my mind too. So I'm going to go with Josh Allen right now.
I think year,
he and Mahomes are real similar, honestly.
I was going to say, and Mahomes actually seems like he's gone down a little bit this year in performance. And Allen, I still feel like he's getting better every year. Like he was bad his first year, pretty good his next year, really solid last year, and then obviously this year, I feel like he's still got me up. So that's a good thing to be trending upward. But that does leave number 4 for me to be Patrick Mahomes. I think his brother and his wife kind of take him down a little bit on this. No, I'm just kidding. But Chad Henne is obviously a really good backup too. And I just think Mahomes, especially in the latter half of the season, has kind of gotten back into form. So I think that's a really good 4th best quarterback to have here in the playoffs.
Definitely. Next, we're going to go with Stafford and the Rams. I mean, Joe Burrow has an argument here for sure, the way he's played this season. But Stafford kind of figured it out. I mean, I was worried a little bit how healthy he would be coming in, but he looked great last night. OBJ, too, made him look a lot. I mean, OBJ was unguardable. He's got 2 great weapons with him and Cooper Kupp. And Higbee's been great at tight end. So
would they have gotten OBJ? Would they have gotten OBJ if Robert Woods didn't get hurt?
Probably not, really. I don't think they would have.
Because Van Jefferson's been good this year.
Yeah. So. I mean, they have a good receiver group, and getting Cam Akers back healthy helped a lot last night to go with Sony Michel a little bit.
And there's a chance they get Darrell Henderson back for the divisional game. So they might have 3 good running backs. But
certainly. So they're kind of getting healthy at the right time. The problem is, how healthy is Stafford going to be this whole playoffs? He didn't get hit a lot last night, but other than on the really poorly run quarterback sneaks. But I mean, he deserves to be here. He deserves just based off. I'm just giving him the age factor above Joe Burrow here. I'm just going to give him a little bit benefit of the doubt. So,
well, technically, they both have the same amount of playoff wins now. So,
they do.
It was nice that Stafford, after 13 years, got his one playoff win that he really needed. Got the monkey off the back.
He played well. He played really well last night.
Yeah, he did. He was, and I would say, defense gave every opportunity, and the running game was good. And that's something he never got in Detroit. So a lot of people dog QB wins with Stafford being the problem, and I just think it's nice that he has a defense and a run game now. So this is a chance to shine. So yeah, I think from there, number 6, I'm going to go with Joe Burrow and Brandon Allen, Jake Browning for the Bengals. I just, 7 and 8 kind of, to me, are almost interchangeable, at least as a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I would, I think confidently Joe Burrow at 6 here.
Yeah, I think honestly there's actually a drop off after the top 6 to then 7 and 8. I'm actually gonna go with 7 I'm gonna go with Jimmy G at 7.
Mm-hmm.
He played pretty well the other day. Other than the one terrible interception, just horrendously bad. But I actually like Trey Lance as a backup too a little bit. They played him a decent amount this year, so he's got some experience there. And then, I just think Jimmy G is exactly what they need. I mean, he does enough for them. Is he going to go win you a big game against a tough opponent? Probably not. But I think he does enough as long as he's not turning the ball over. I think he's a little bit ahead, in my opinion, of Ryan Tannehill, at least this year. So,
well, if he beats the Packers here this week, then maybe he gets to face his previous leader. That'd be an interesting matchup as a rematch between the former Patriots. It's a shame that Jacoby Brissett's on the Dolphins.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Have all 3 of those quarterbacks in the playoffs. That'd be cool. It leaves number 8 for the Titans: Ryan Tannehill, Logan Woodside, and Kevin Hogan. Woodside's probably a bottom tier backup in general in the entire league, and Ryan Tannehill is kind of right there next to Jimmy G for me, right at that 15 to 20 mark quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: they're not horrendous. I mean, they obviously got him in the playoffs. Jimmy G's been, he's played in the Super Bowl, so you're not sitting there saying they're horrendous, but they're not, they're not upper tier. They're not the reason their teams are there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll say that.
Right. I agree with that. For running back, I'll go first here on this one. And I am going to take the Titans because Derrick Henry is back, baby. And in his replacements, Deontay Foreman, Dontrell Hilliard, Jeremy McNichols, Kari Blasingame, pretty much whoever you put back there was still killing it. Just seems like maybe it's the offensive line that's getting the push, but those are a bunch of quality running backs. And Derrick Henry, especially in the playoffs after all this rest time, I think no one's going to want to tackle this man.
No. As long as he's healthy, I wouldn't. I mean, no.
I'm not getting in his way. You just go in the end zone.
Exactly. This is a debate, but I'm actually going to go Rams here now that they're getting 3 guys healthy. Sony Michel has proven that he's still a good back. Cam Akers last night was good. He provides a little bit more explosion, and then getting Darrell Henderson back just sounds like they're probably going to that makes a big difference. So having 3 backs that they can go to, and they're all a little bit different styles, that really makes them a little bit deeper than a couple of the other teams. So I will go with the Rams here at number 2.
I'll take the Green Bay Packers here at 3. They were my number 2. I had the Rams at 3 on mine. So it's just flip-flopping those. But Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon being like the Walmart version of Derrick Henry, no one's going to people aren't going to be excited to tackle A.J. Dillon either when he gets the ball.
No.
The winner, especially in Lambeau. Like, dead of winter, no thanks. Obviously, Patrick Taylor Jr. and Kylan Hill, Kareth White Jr. haven't really played much of anything this year, but just the top.
Taylor Jr. played a good amount against the Lions.
Yeah, they played all their backups. Yeah, that was. But Kylan Hill's been up and down in the practice squad. Kareth White's been on the practice squad pretty much all year. So, but just the 1-2 punch right there with Jones and Dillon right now, and Dillon he's trending upwards too. So, I feel good about number 3 there.
Number 4, I'm going to go with the Chiefs at number 4. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Darrell Williams, Jerick McKinnon has really emerged here late. He's a weapon. He fits that offense perfect. I mean, that offense is perfect for him. And he's a weapon out of the backfield now. I don't know if you could make an offense more perfect for Jerick McKinnon. So 3 guys that are solid right there. They fit what they want to do. They're not going to carry the ball 25 times like some of these other backs like Derrick Henry or or even Aaron Jones, but they're weapons in their own way in the passing game mostly. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Number 5, I'll go with the Bucs. And it's there's still some up in the airs on here. Leonard Fournette.
Is Lenny coming back?
Yeah, if playoff Lenny comes back, and Ronald Jones II is also didn't play last week, but they're on the active roster now, so they're active. Yeah. It's just going to be if they feel comfortable playing them. They have 21 days to make that decision. But then Giovanni Bernard just came back, and for a while there, it was pretty much just Keyshawn Vaughn and Le'Veon Bell. So you know, when you're getting Vaughn and Bell and Kenyon Barner, Darwin Thompson as your back end running backs, I feel like it's really deep at running back. I feel like there's quite a bit of talent there. Because when they're all healthy,
there's guys that are just terrible.
I was going to say, well, when they're all healthy, and the fact that Vaughn and Bell would be like your 4 and 5, that's kind of impressive to me. So right. I would say, yeah, I mean, especially playoff Lenny and Ronald Jones are back healthy, it kind of changes things. Vaughn just had a mediocre game against the Eagles, but yeah, they're at 5, probably not that bad here.
No. Number 6, I will go with, man, this is tough. I'll go with the Bengals off the strength mostly of Joe Mixon. But they're mixing in Chris Evans still a little bit. He's still getting some play, especially towards the end of the year. Definitely out of the backfield as a receiver. Samaje Perine, Trevion Williams, Puka Williams, Elijah Holyfield. Joe Mixon's a beast, though. I mean, I think he's still a solid number 1 as long as he's healthy. And he's, you know, again, they're a team they're not going to run the ball 25. You know, he's not going to get 25 carries, but that's not what they need from him. Mm-hmm. You know, they need a guy who's just, you know, who can sprinkle in 15 to 17 carries, maybe 20, 25 touches, right? Depending on, you know, passes out of the backfield. But that's kind of what he provides right now. And he's very good at it. So I think you can put them at number 6, mostly off of the strength of him.
Yep. I actually have them at 5 on my list. So the man 6 here works well. Number 7, then I'm going to go with the 49ers. And I know I think a lot of it's offensive line. Their run blocking is really good. But I mean, Elijah Mitchell, the 6th-round picks come out of nowhere. And Jeff Wilson is also.
He almost had 1,000 yards. I mean, Elijah Mitchell was pretty close to 1,000 yards.
Yeah. And he averaged like 6.5 yards a carry. It was remarkable.
Right.
Jeff Wilson on that list, JaMychal Hasty, Trey Sermon, Trenton Cannon, and Kyle Juszczyk at fullback, probably the best fullback in the game. You know, they're all there for Raheem Mostert. So, you know, I don't think Elijah Mitchell gets as many chances. If he did, they tried to give Trey Sermon chances in typical Ohio State move to not use that potential. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little bit better than the Bills here, but I think they're almost interchangeable with some of the top 3 running backs for the Bills. So,
yeah. So obviously 8, the Bills, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, Matt Breida. That's not a bad 3 right there. It's just
Singletary's been really good as of late.
Yeah, he's been awesome. But I think their offense is just predicated on Josh Allen right now anyway. So I think that kind of takes away from some of the things that they do well at the running back position. You know, Zach Moss is more of a bruiser. Matt Breida is a speedster. But so is Devin Singletary. So I think, you know, the running back position is less important for that team right now. But that's not a bad trio right there. You know, you could put that up against a lot of the league and it would hold up. So it's last, I know, on our list here, but that doesn't mean it's I
bet all these teams are top 15 in the NFL.
Yeah, none of these are bad running back rooms. You would take, if I'm the Lions, I would take every single one of these rooms right now. I mean, I know, you know,
I would take Swift and Jamal Williams over probably 2 of them, but that's
all right.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, if healthy, fully healthy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Lions are at least top half. I think they're top 16. Sure. So, but yeah, I mean that's like I said, bunch of good running back rooms there. Wide receiver. Who is your best wide receiver group?
This is tough.
Who do I have?
I would have gone with the Bucs earlier, but I'm not going to go with them. I'm going to go with the Bengals.
Okay, I was going to say, come on, that's got to be number 1.
Yeah, I mean, they have 3. I mean, they have the best trio left.
I think they're the best trio in football.
Yeah. There's arguments to be made. Yeah, they're probably best. There's an argument to be made with a couple other teams. But yeah, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Stanley Morgan Jr., Mike Thomas. I mean, you really only got to talk about the top three, if you're being honest. Jamar Chase has been a beast. T. Higgins has been great. Tyler Boyd has been awesome in the slot. And Joe Burrow, I mean, he's got a lot of weapons, Joe Burrow does right now. And you got Mixon and Evans coming out of the backfield. It's tough. So, CJ Uzoma, I know we'll talk about the tight ends here in a minute. But that's a lot of weapons to cover. That's a tough offense to cover right now. And they're clicking. So, yeah, they're number one.
Number two, I'm going to go with the Rams. Cooper Kupp, obviously, breaking or close to breaking lots of records this year. Odell Beckham Jr. Has been picking it up once, that playbook has been figured out. And then Van Jefferson, another guy that's trending upward. Ben Skowronek has even gotten involved. Brandon Powell's been good, at least as a kick returner. And then you got Tutu Atwell and massive Jacob Harris, who's kind of borderline wide receiver tight end. So they've got guys, and I can't even imagine I don't know if they'd have OBJ obviously, but if they had Robert Woods too, I think they'd be easily number one. That'd be the best trio if they keep those guys. So, I don't know, confident number two right there.
Yeah, pretty solid number two. Number three, I'm going to go with the Bills. Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, Isaiah McKenzie's played well. Stephon Diggs, last year he was arguably the best receiver in the league. This year, a little bit of a dip, but he's been awesome still. I mean, he's not going to have the amount of catches that he had last year every year. So pretty solid top three, especially when Emmanuel Sanders is healthy. And they're kind of clicking on all cylinders right now. I think Gabriel Davis even had a touchdown last time.
Gabriel Davis has been good. I mean, it's just Gabriel Davis and Cole Beasley get a lot of flack because they're not vaccinated. So
yeah, well, whatever at this point. I don't think they're going to be worried about that during the playoffs. So, you know what? We're going to go with the unvaccinated squad at number three.
All right, cool beans, man. Number four, I'm going to go with the Packers, and that's obviously more of a shout on Davante Adams. I think he's probably the second best wide receiver in football right now. And then Allen Lazard always seems to step up, and MVS is a burner. Equinemius St. Brown, like he's got the St. Brown blood, so you'd think that help. But and Amari Rodgers, he's obviously still young, but they've got guys that have been able to fill in even when Davante Adams has been out. So I don't know. I feel like I think mostly because Davante Adams here, I give him the upper hand, but I just looked at it. I'm like, if I take a wide receiver room, just getting that big superstar kind of stands out more to me.
Yeah, I mean, I even thought about putting him on number three, right?
Yeah,
I even considered putting him there just because that's how good he is. But I just think the Bills room is just a little bit deeper, and Stephon Diggs is still a beast too. So I mean, Davante Adams has argument for number one receiver in the league. So, what are we, number five?
Yep, we've got all my top four rounded out already, so everything else is kind of going smooth.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs here at number five.
Okay.
Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, Josh Gordon. That's an outlier right there. You never know what you're going to get out of that guy. Marcus Kemp, Garrett Dieter, Cornell Powell. A lot of receivers that are in the same mold. Tyreek Hill's obviously relatively unguardable at times. You got to have a safety over top of him or he's going to kill you. Mecole Hardman's actually trending up, in my opinion. This is kind of what I thought he might be when they got him out of the, in the draft. Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, both slot guys. They're both very fast. And then, Josh Gordon, he's certainly gotten some targets. I mean, he's still a big body, still an incredible athlete. It's just, how much can he kind of round into form to become a beast? Or how much weed did he smoke that week, I guess. I think it's a deep room. Tyreek Hill, and obviously, if Travis Kelce is obviously a tight end, but that's a huge part of their offense too, and we'll get to that. Tough to cover. All these teams are tough to cover. These are some crazy offenses this year in the league. So you're in the playoffs.
Man, for number 6, I'm gonna go with the Titans for 6. And they've kind of underperformed for the most part this year, but they've also had other guys that were deep on the depth chart that have stepped up, like So Nick Westbrook-Akine has been one. Chester Rogers has done pretty well. Racey McMath has gotten targets, but the two studs there that should be studs were AJ Brown and Julio Jones. So hopefully they come back to form.
AJ Brown was hurt a lot.
Yeah, and so was Julio. So that's why a lot of these other guys had to step up. But I just Josh Reynolds was on that roster and they ended up cutting him. That's why the Lions got him. And he was the number 3 there. So I don't know, man. If they come back to form here in the playoffs, hopefully that bye week of the extra rest helped. But yeah, it's kind of tough from here on to the end. I'm gonna go with the Titans at 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the 49ers here at 7. Just because of the play of Deebo Samuel lately. I mean, he's just become a weapon. I mean, all over the field, taking handoffs from the backfield, downfield threat. Brandon Ayuk has been great. He's benefited from a lot of the attention being paid to Deebo. Trent Sherfield, Jawan Jennings. Jawan Jennings is trending up as well. He's played very well the last couple games. River Craycraft, Travis Benjamin. Travis Benjamin is definitely more of a special teams guy right now, but he actually had a pretty good game the other day. So
he's got experience. He's been around since 20 years.
Around a lot. So I think, just because of how Deebo's trending up, Ayuk's trending up, I think I'm going to put them above the Bucs here.
I don't hate that. To me, those are really interchangeable. Obviously Mike Evans is like one of those elite receivers. So it's like but then it's with all the injuries and the behavioral issues that wide receiver room has dealt with. And they've got guys like Tyler Johnson, Rashad Perriman, who didn't even make the Lions roster, and Scotty Miller, Jalen Darden, Cyril Grayson. They did pick up John Brown off free agency because they're probably desperate. He was he's the best. He was the best wide receiver free agent available, in my opinion.
He was pretty good for the Bills at times.
And Ravens. Yeah, he was on the Ravens too. Yeah, he's a kind of a burner, but he's also probably, I think he's 31 now.
Yeah, he's older.
But like I said, to me, those teams were interchangeable in my mind, but obviously the top 2 wide receivers for the 49ers are trending up. Mike Evans is really the only one that's been as good as advertised as he's always been. And it's the rest.
Where would you have put them? Where would you have put the Bucs if healthy?
Godwin and
Godwin was trending way up before he got hurt. I mean, he was trending as a top tier receiver in the whole league, and AB before he went crazy. Well, and healthy AB, where would you put them?
To me, Evans, Godwin, and AB probably match up pretty well with like that Bengals trio. So honestly, I'm almost certain they would at least be 3rd on this list or better. And I would argue I don't know if I can, just the way Jamar Chase has been and T. Higgins has always been, Tyler Boyd's been good. With Scotty Miller at 4, I think Scotty Miller is better than Stanley Morgan Jr. I would probably say I might go with the Bucs at 1 if they had that.
Yeah. I mean, they had an argument. They would have been 1 or 2 for me just because it's, I mean, the way Godwin was playing too. I mean,
let's just say the Rams had Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, OBJ, and Van Jefferson. I think that's number 1.
Okay, they're number 1. That is number 1, and then the Bucs are 2 or 3. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy. But now you know what? This is how Tom Brady normally has it.
He's had it worse. He's done more with less. Deion Branch was the only receiver one. Deion Branch was never a superstar.
He's done more with way less. He had Troy Brown and David
Gibbons.
David Gibbons and
David Patton.
I mean, the other day it was like 2 games ago. Cyril Grayson had 2 touchdowns. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, what is going on here?
Number 6 receiver.
So and I think he's hurt now too. So I don't know. It's interesting. I'm sure he'll figure it out. So
for tight end, number 1, I'm going to go with the Bucs. And I think they were our preseason number 1 as well. And now I think they're even better with their 4th tight end. I mean, O.J. Howard, Gronk, Cam Brate. Then they got Darren Fells after the Lions cut him per his request. They've got 4 guys there that have been around in the league for a while, that have produced it in the league for a while. So, I think just with the depth, I think there's better tight ends in the playoffs, but the depth all around gives them.
I don't think you can beat that top 3. I mean, certainly, they don't have a superstar. I mean, Gronk can sometimes still be a superstar. I mean,
to me, there's not even a playoff team left that has a good number 2 that I like as a number 2 tight end. And the Bucs have, 3 guys. And technically, I would say Darren Fells is pretty good too. So it's like, to me, none of these other tight ends, number 2 tight ends in this league in the playoffs left are good. It's just going to be relying on.
Yeah, I don't love any of the two number 2s.
Yeah, there's some good number 1s left, but definitely some rough 2s.
Certainly, there's some beast number 1s. So number 2 on the list, I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Yep.
Just based off of Travis Kelce. I mean, he's been the
Blake
best
Bell, the former quarterback.
Yeah, the Belldozer.
Yep.
But he's been the best receiving tight end in the league for the last 4 or 5 years. So, he just props them up. And if you're going up against all these other good tight ends, they don't, or these other teams' tight ends, like you said, there's not a second number 2 tight end out there that I like. So, they've got to be number 2.
Number 3 is another really elite tight end, is George Kittle for the 49ers. So I'll go Kittle, and then they've got Ross Dwelly, Charlie Warner, Tanner Hudson as depth. But Kittle and Kelce are typically considered in that list of like top 3 tight ends pretty much every year.
Certainly. Yep. And Kelsey's out there throwing touchdowns now. So, he's
and
just adding that.
Blake Bell is too. Yeah, they've been working.
Yep. So what, number 4?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Rams. I just like Tyler Higbee a little bit more than CJ Uzomah, so I'm gonna go with the Rams at number 4. Kendall Blanton, don't love him. Bryson Hopkins, don't love him. But yeah, Tyler Higbee's a weapon. I mean, he's been very good. So I'll go with them at 4.
I'll go with my number 4 here at 5, and that's the Bills. Dawson Knox has been trending way up. To me, Dawson Knox is probably a top 6 tight end in the league right now. And I just remember
he was impossible to guard in Madden in our league. It was just
you made him elite for sure. Tommy Sweeney is a backup, Quentin Morris and Tanner Gentry as other remaining tight ends in that roster. Just like I said, no good backup tight ends left in the playoffs other than what the Bucs had. So I'm kind of going on number 1s here. And to me, Dawson Knox he's right next to Tyler Higbee on that tight end list for me.
Yeah. I'll go with the Bengals next. CJ Uzomah. He's been a great receiving threat. I don't love him as a blocker. So I just put him a little bit above, probably a good amount above the next teams, actually.
Yeah.
I don't love the tight end rooms for the next couple teams. So, we'll go with the Bengals.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Titans here then for 7, because I just think the last one is so much worse without Robert Tonyan. So, Jeff Swain, Anthony Ferguson, Michael Pruitt, and Ryan Izzo. All those guys have been number 2 tight ends their whole life. So it's 4 number 2 tight ends pretty much. I mean, Ryan Izzo was at number 2.
I don't think they're terrible. They're just not.
No one stands out. Yeah, Ryan Izzo was a number 2, number 3 tight end with the Patriots for a while. Michael Pruitt's been in the league forever. Anthony Ferguson and Jeff Swain was with the Cowboys for a while when they had Dalton Schultz and everything. So, I just, like I said, a bunch of number 2s to me beats this, remaining team that's got a bunch of nobodies after a tight end that's been in the league for 100 years. So,
right.
Yeah.
So we'll go with Packers. I mean, Mercedes Lewis is a name you'll know
because he plays for 12 years.
Yeah. I mean, I've liked him. I liked him like 8 years ago. I was like, man, that guy's pretty good.
I was in elementary school.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's just been around. So obviously he's got the experience factor on pretty much everybody, but other than that, there's not a whole lot going on in that room. So with Robert Tonyan, they certainly move up the list, but they don't have Robert Tonyan. So pretty bad room. So
who do you like at number 1 for the offensive lines?
This one's a little tougher. I'm going to go with the Titans here at number 1.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Taylor Lewan, Kendall Lamb, Roger Saffold's a beast. Nate Davis has been awesome. Dylan Raduns.
Yeah, from North State.
Yep. He's
Ben Jones is a good center. Ben Jones is their starting center.
Ben Jones is a good center. So yeah, I'm gonna go with them. I mean, I know a lot of what they do gets credited to Derrick Henry, but I just think that's a great offensive line. I mean, I really do.
It is a great offensive. I have them at 3, but I thought my top 3 offensive lines were all really pretty solid, so they could be interchangeable.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Raduns is still young, and he's actually kind of like that 6th man on that line. So
Yep.
I don't know. I think they're that's a solid offensive line, but I'm going to go with my number 1, and that's assuming they're all back and healthy. So that would be the Bucs. And obviously Tristan Wirfs went down in that game, and so did Ryan Jensen. Ryan Jensen ended up coming back in and finishing the game.
Wirfs tried to come back in and was a turnstile.
And the funny thing was they had to put Josh Wells in there, who I was surprised how well Wells did because he was also dealing with like a quad injury. And obviously your quads are pretty important for building leverage on the offensive line. But like Donovan Smith has been one of the top tackles in the league for a while. Ali Marpet's one of the best guards. Alex Kappa, Aaron Stinney are interchangeable guards. So it's like, to me, it's a deep offensive line on top of just being solid all the way through as well.
Yeah, I mean they kind of mentioned it too, but they've played together the whole year. They haven't really been hurt a lot. So up until the playoffs. So I mean, Wirfs had played every game, every snap of his career up until the other game. So
yeah,
that's impressive. Certainly, they had an argument for number 1. Number 3, I'm gonna go with the 49ers.
Okay.
Trent Williams, argument for the best tackle in the league. Best offensive lineman in the league.
He was the highest graded.
Jalen Moore, Laken Tomlinson's still good. Daniel Brunskill, Aaron Banks, Alex Mack, Tom Compton. I think it's deep. I think they could do a lot with their scheme that makes them such a good running team. But they're persistent and they kind of wear on you. And then, in the fourth quarter, they're able to just kind of run a lot of these games out with some of their different running backs. So,
and like you said, I think it's telling with all the running backs that still have success pretty much.
Right. It's kind of like watching, it's kind of like the part we were talking about with the Lions a little bit. That's why I do believe still the Lions have a top 10 at least line in the league. Is just like, I mean, if Craig Reynolds is doing well behind this line, they can probably it's the line, it's not the tailbacks. It's definitely the line doing it. So.
And it's a credit to the other team you picked first, the Titans. I mean, Derrick Henry out half the season, and Deontay Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard will take in turns for 100-yard games.
Yeah. I mean, they've been able to not recreate Derrick Henry necessarily, but they've been able to just keep up the momentum and because when he went down, it was like, oh crap, where do we go from here? And they just kept doing the same thing. So
yeah, it was actually Deontay Foreman didn't even start the year with the team. He was signed right after the Derrick Henry injury, so it worked out. Number 4, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. Zeus Jr., Andrew Wiley, Joe Tooney, who's been one of the best guards in football. Creed Humphrey was the highest graded center in football, and that was even ahead of Frank Ragnow. So that as a rookie, that's impressive. And then Trey Smith is a good guard. And the depth with Austin Blythe, Kyle Long, the veteran, and Prince Tega Winogo. There's depth there too, and it's a team that I had at number 3. We just swapped the 49ers and the Chiefs on that one, but I don't know. I'm a big fan of this offensive line too.
Yeah, a lot of good offensive lines in this.
The reason these teams are there, games are won and lost in the trenches, right?
Right. What is this? What number is this?
Yeah, 5.
5. Man, I'm gonna go with the Packers now that they have Bakhtiari back.
Yeah.
John Runyon Jr. has been awesome. Royce Newman, Billy Turner, Josh Myers, Lucas Patrick. Bakhtiari moves them up a spot or two for me. Obviously, he came back against. I think he came back against the Lions. Yeah, he came back against the Lions. He didn't play the whole game, obviously, but they got him worked back in, and had some stuff figured out with him. And he's a elite lineman. So I think they deserve to be right there with him healthy.
Yeah, and I think giving them the extras, like some of their backups, pretty much the snaps in the entire second half. I think that's kind of a nice thing to do to go into into the playoffs is just try to build as much experience for some of these guys to get meaningful playing time as possible too, because injuries do happen inevitably. So 6, I'm going to go with the LA Rams. The tackle tandem of Rob Havenstein and the 40-year-old Andrew Whitworth, the only 40-year-old left in the playoffs whose name isn't Tom Brady. So that's impressive for an offensive lineman. David Edwards and Austin Corbett at guard, and Brian Allen from Michigan State at center. And then I feel like, Coleman Shelton, Joseph Notaboom, and Bobby Evans are pretty solid depth. Definitely not compared to some of these other teams, but right here at 6 for playoff teams, I'm good with it.
All right, I'll go with the Bills at 7. It's not my favorite. I don't love either of these last two. The Bills, I'm just going to give them for experience sake. Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown, Tommy Doyle, Bobby Hart, John Feliciano, Darrell Williams, Cody Ford, Mitch Morris. They have a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. So I'm just going to give them that. Even they're just deeper than the Bengals too. The Bengals have a couple guys on their line that I like, especially Jackson Carman, but they're still building that. That's the next step for me and for them, in my opinion. I mean, I know 2 years ago they got Joe Burrow killed, but this year they were a lot better. But yeah, I'm still going to put the Bills a little bit ahead of them. So
yeah, I think and the Bengals here, they actually had them at 8 on my personal list too. But the Bengals, I think Clinton Spain's the only Bengal lineman that has 4 years or more of NFL experience.
Right.
So Jonah Williams, Isaiah Prince, Hakeem Adeniji, and Jackson Carman, Trey Hopkins, and Trey Hill. All those guys extremely young. Two of those are rookies. So it's just a really young team, and I think that's why I agree with you 100%. The Bills, just based on experience.
Jackson Carman was a guy I wanted the Lions to take if he ended up falling to him.
He actually started in the Bengals Lions game that I went to, and I didn't think he wasn't good, but you're going to have those rookie hiccups for sure. I still think he's a bright future. I love his size and his aggression. So, but yeah, you're right to say if the Bengals line here was a little bit more experienced, they could definitely be interchangeable here at the Bills, because I don't like either of those lines. But they're both getting the job done. Obviously, they got their team. They're a big part of why their teams are where they are. So, so number 1 for D line, I will go with. Oh man, this is tough. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Packers. Zadarius Smith is now back, and that means freaky edge rushers with Kenny Clark in the middle and Kingsley Kike. So like Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, Dean Lowry, and Rashawn Gary.
Tough to block those guys.
That's a nightmare for tackles to just kind of rotate those 4 guys in and out. Kenny Clark in the middle with Kingsley Kike and Tyler Lancaster, Darrell Slayton, and Jonathan Garvin. Yeah, it's deep too. So, I think I'm going to put them 1 here.
I will go with the Bucs at number 2.
That's a good number 2.
I think they were probably our number 1 preseason, I would guess. Yeah. Shaq Barrett's healthy now. He had an interception last week. Jason Pierre-Paul, Vite Villa, Sue, Will Golston. I mean, this is just a bunch of dudes up front. I mean, tough. I don't know. I mean, you pair that with their linebackers, which we'll talk about the linebackers soon. I don't know how you block that front 7 consistently, which, I mean, that was the biggest problem for the the Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl. I mean, they could not block these guys, and the speed, all over the field for that defense is impressive. So, I think it starts up front now. I'll put them at number 2.
Yeah, we're going right in order here on my list too. So I'm going to say the Rams at 3, getting Von Miller in a trade. Obviously, they're pretty much selling the farm to get this championship this year. But then you pair him with Aaron Donald in the middle. A'Shawn Robinson's been better than he was in Detroit with the Rams. Terrell Lewis on the edge from Alabama, Justin Holland, Sebastian Joseph Day, Greg Gaines, and Bobby Brown the third, rookie out of Texas A&M. There's lots of talent on that line too, and I just think a freaky edge rush of Von Miller, just the continued emergence with A'Shawn with the Rams, and obviously Aaron Donald is the most elite lineman in football. That's number 3 for me.
Yep. Number 4. That's where it gets a little bit more difficult. Man. I'm gonna go with the Bills. Jerry Hughes is old. Gregory Rousseau, I like his potential with his speed. Ed Oliver, you're kind of waiting for Ed Oliver to really come to fruition still, but he's still got some talent. Star Lotulelei, Harrison Phillips, AJ Epinesa is still tough to block. Mario Addison, Vernon Butler, Boogie Basham. I think 2 years from now, that could be, once Jerry Hughes is gone and, they maybe infuse it with a little bit more youth to go with some of the talent.
That's an extremely young line. I mean, Star Lotulelei.
Yeah, I think that could be.
Lotulelei is like 35, but I mean, and Harrison
he and Hughes are the two old guys, and once those guys are gone, I mean, and the talent catching up to the youth, I think they're just
Epinesa, Ed Oliver, and Gregory Rousseau. I mean, just in and of itself, like that's
Boogie Basham and Rousseau were guys that I thought sleeper guys for the Lions. Maybe to take if it fell.
I didn't think there was any way Rousseau would have fell this time. I mean, there was a chance he might have fell the second, but I didn't think he. Yeah,
Especially, I mean, there was a lot of edge rushers last year, though, so I thought, you never know. But yeah, I think that's a talented line who just maybe hasn't put it all together yet. Would be the way I'd look at it.
Chiefs. I will go with number 5. Frank Clark, Melvin Ingram, Alex Okafor, Mike Dana. Just a lot of there's Michigan talent all over that line. And then Chris Jones and Jaron Reed in the middle. And Tershawn Wharton, Derek Nottie, and Joshua Kando. Like I said, lots of Homer Michigan talent in there, but obviously Frank Clark and Melvin Ingram are proven edge rushers. Alex Okafor and Mike Dana are good rotational. Chris Jones is a top 3 interior D lineman in this league. So
let's see who's even. I don't know. Nobody picked the 49ers, did they?
Nope, 49ers on.
Yeah, I'm going to go 49ers based 100% on Nick Bosa.
What do you mean, Mo Hurst?
Yeah, I mean, no, Mo Hurst isn't really playing. They had a lot of guys I really liked in college on this team, too. But Samson, Ebukam, Eric Armstead, DJ Jones, Contavious Street, Arden Key, I loved him in college.
LSU,
Jordan Willis.
But Charles Omenihu at Texas. And Texas, Charles Omenihu. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nick Bosa is a beast, though. Really tough to cover. Just pretty much.
I had the 49ers at 5, based pretty much on Nick Bosa. So that's quite a bit.
Yeah. So I mean, you got to put him here at this point. So just basically because of him, that line changes when he's hurt. So. Yeah.
Is that pretty much just leave the Titans and Bengals, right? Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals. And that's Trey Hendrickson, obviously with the Saints is really good. It just continued another good year here with the Bengals. Sam Hubbard is kind of like that average edge rusher. DJ Reader, Larry Ogunjobi, DJ Hill in the middle. Cam Sample's been a pretty good depth guy. Khalid Kareem, Josh Tupou, and Mike Daniels, who's 115 years old. But I just it's a little bit it's better than that than the last place here, and I just it's not a bad D line anyway. I think even in a regular of all the teams, I probably still 15, 16.
Yeah. So we'll go with the Titans last. Bud Dupree, he's old. Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, Tier Tart, Danico Autry, Naquan Jones, Laurel Murchison, Deshaun Hand. They got some guys that I like on that line, but it's kind of amazing. We've put the Titans towards the bottom of a lot of these rankings. They're the number 1 seed, so kind of interesting. We'll see how it goes, but
Deshaun Hand's going to be the difference maker there, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
A healthy Deshaun Hand.
Healthy Deshaun Hand will.
Hey, you appeared a healthy Deshaun Hand.
Record a tackle.
Well, I mean, because I like obviously Bud Dupree's old, but Harold Landry was in the Frank Ragnow draft, and I was like back and forth. Do I want Harold Landry here, or do I want Frank Ragnow? And on my mock drafts before that draft, I picked Harold Landry to the Lions, and he's been a good edge rusher in this league. Jeffrey Simmons slipped to the Titans a couple years ago because of behavioral issues. That hasn't really affected his NFL career, but you get the healthy Deshaun Hand with a Danico Autry too, and there's potential there where they can be a good front. So Yeah, I don't know. Who do you have as the best linebacker?
Man, this is tough.
Mm.
I'm going to go with the Bucs, though. Devin White, Levante David, those two. And good to go with KJ Britt, Kevin Minter. Most athletic linebacker group, certainly, in my opinion. The Titans might have an argument there, actually, with Jayon Brown, but I'm going to go with the Bucs.
Yeah, Bucs are my number 2. Titans are my number 1. Rashaan Evans, David Long Jr. out of West Virginia, not to be confused with the Rams corner from Michigan. Jayon Brown, and then getting Zach Cunningham after he was cut really improved the depth because Nick Zubner was already pretty good. Derek Roberson and Joseph Jones. That's just 4 linebackers deep. Very impressive group, and then I just think some pretty solid depth after that. Obviously, Bucs have some of the 2 best linebackers, and then just depth guys from there. But I kind of, I can see how they're interchangeable for sure. So I just flip those 2 around. But Titans 2.
Yep. Number 3. This is where it gets even more difficult. I'll go with the 49ers here.
Yep, that was my number 3. Yep.
Fred Warner's hurt because he was a little banged up. That changes it. But Azeez Al-Shaair, Dre Greenlaw has been really good. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, Marcel Harris. I mean, another athletic group. I think they deserve to be number 3.
Oh man, I think I put them at 4, and I'm like I might switch it up here. I think this might be out of all the playoffs position groups. I think the linebacker one is probably the worst altogether, like the least amount of talent overall. Obviously, I think the Bucs and Titans, I think, are definitely clear 1 and 2. But like after that, I'm not super impressed, especially with Fred Warner being.
The tight end's the only other one that I would say is close to as this bad.
Yeah.
Other than there's a couple superstars, but like from after 1 and 2, it's like okay.
I put the Rams at 4, but I'm kind of not sure. I think I will, just with especially how they played as of late. Leonard Floyd's been good all year and continued that in the playoffs. Troy Reeder had the sack on caused the pick 6 actually by almost sacking Kyler Murray in the end zone yesterday. And then Traven Howard's been doing it for a while.
Kyler Murray decided to just not forget the rules of football.
Never go full retard, pretty much. But Traven Howard's been doing it for a while. Justin Lawler, Christian Roseboom, Bonnia Okoronkwo, and Chris Garrett. I don't like a lot of those names, but like Leonard Floyd, Troy Reeder, and Traven Howard have all been solid for the most part all year, and especially in the playoffs. So hopefully that continues. I'll put them at 4.
Yeah. 5. Oh man, I like some of these guys for their potential, but I don't love their. I'll go with the Chiefs, I guess. Anthony Hitchens, Nick Bolton, Ben Neiman, Dorian O'Daniel, Willie Gay Jr. Hitchens is good. I like Gay Jr.'s ability, and Nick Bolton's decent. They're just, to me, they were just the best of the worst now.
Yeah, so. And they're interchangeable here with the Bills, so I'll put it 6. Tremaine Edmonds, he's kind of studied out. I really saw more of a ceiling for him.
Yes, I did too.
He's just kind of been just like an average linebacker in this league. Matt Milano, though, has also been kind of right there, and AJ Klein have been. So those 3 guys right there, I'm good with. I'm comfortable with those guys. Are just not blowing me away. Tyrell Dodson.
Yeah, I like Edmonds. I thought Edmonds had a chance to be one of the better backers in the league eventually.
Yeah, his potential was through the roof in my opinion, but he's obviously in great physical shape, physical player, but it just hasn't. Maybe the motor is more of a concern. But Andre Smith and Joe Giles Harris to round out after Tyler Matakevich there. Again, best of the worst from that 6th. So we'll leave between the Bengals and Packers for you.
Yeah, I'll go with the Bengals here. Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, Marcus Bailey. I really don't love any of those guys. Noah Spence, who's good in college. Yeah, I mean, these are two groups that their teams they're not the reason their teams are there. And these are two teams that we're talking about here that do rely heavily on offense to get them to where they are, and it's pretty evident by some of these defensive groupings. So,
yeah, Packers to round it out: Devondre Campbell, Chris Barnes, Isaiah McDuffie, Oren Burks, Chauncey Rivers, and Ty Summers. Ty Summers is technically still hurt, might come back to playoffs, but either way, Summers and Burks are pretty much special teams guys. So with McDuffie and Devondre Campbell and Chris Barnes as your three main guys, that's so I think I would probably put them in the 25 to 32 range of all teams.
Yeah, they're not good. They're not good. That again, not the reason that their teams are here. I mean, they're probably better statistically than they actually are because of how good their front is.
Yeah.
And they're decent. I mean, they're not even that great in the back end. So, but yeah, their front bails them out a lot. And then obviously, their offense is great. So, and I think that's a theme throughout these playoffs is a lot of these teams are just carried by their offense. So
that's the way the NFL has kind of trended towards is offensive football.
True.
So
true.
For DBs, I will go with the Green Bay Packers actually. With Jair Alexander back, Eric Stokes. And kept with him Alexander being out so long, Stokes and King and Rasul Douglas and Shannon Sullivan got a lot of time at corner. So I think that experience is kind of going to bode well for them for this. And then obviously I think two of the best safeties in football with Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage Jr. Vernon Scott is the rotational third safety. I think is a really good secondary, and I think that without that linebacker, of course, drags them down, but thankfully they've got so much stability in the other positions.
Yeah, with Jair Alexander healthy, that helps. Number two, I'm going to go with the Rams here.
Okay.
Jalen Ramsey, David Long, Darius Williams, Jordan Fuller, Taylor Rapp, Terrell Burgess, Dante Dion, Nick Scott. I think Ramsey's still an elite corner. I know maybe not to the level that for a year or two he was, but I think he's still elite. David Long's coming along. Jordan Fuller's a really good safety. So I like that group a lot. That's a group that can still take. I mean, Jordan Ramsey, if Ramsey or Jalen Ramsey, if Ramsey's covering, matched up against Devontae Adams, he's going to win some of those. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not like he's going to get torched all game long.
Yeah, I would say he's top three corner. I mean, Jair Alexander, a healthy Jair Alexander is probably a top one corner, but I don't know. I had the Rams in that top four. I had them at 4, but the Bengals at 2 is what I had, just because they're the deepest. Maybe not the most superstars in the world, but corner-wise, it's nuts. Eli Apple, Trey Waynes, Mike Hilton in the nickel. Mike Hilton's probably one of the best nickel corners in football. To get Chidobe Awuzie from the Cowboys last year and Vernon Hargreaves, who got torched by Michigan in a bowl game several years ago. And then the 4 safeties with Jesse Bates III, who I think is one of the best safeties in football. Von Bell, Ricardo Allen, and Trey Flowers, who's a converted corner from Seattle. The Bengals, just every one of those names are solid players.
Certainly. And
with Jesse Bates III, I think will be the elite guy out of that group, and Mike Hilton's an elite nickel corner.
Yeah, definitely. Was this number 4?
Yep.
Oh man. I'm actually gonna go with the Bucs here.
Yeah.
Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy Bunting, Jamel Dean, Antoine Winfield Jr., and Jordan Whitehead. That's a good 5 right there. After that, Mike Edwards, Ross Cockrell, Pierre Desir. Ross Cockrell's played a lot, so has Mike Edwards. I really like the way that Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis played the other last week. And Antoine Winfield Jr. is very good, and I think he's going to be a really good DB for a long time. So I'm going to go with them at 4.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Titans at 5. Janoris Jenkins is a really good corner. Christian Fulton's kind of been inconsistent this year, but a lot of upside with him out of LSU. He's good size. Buster Screen's been one of the best nickel corners in football for a long time. Kevin Byard is one of the best ball hawking safeties in football, and Amani Hooker is pretty good at safety too. And then the depth is mediocre, subpar. Matthias Farley, Elijah Molden, Chris Jackson, and Greg Maven. I like their starting group of 5 guys there. The depth is maybe more of a concern, but if those 5 guys are healthy, that's not really something to worry about. So yeah, I feel good about putting them at 5 there.
6 Chiefs.
Yep, it's probably correct.
I'll go with the Chiefs probably. Yeah. L'Jarius Sneed, Javarius Ward, Mike Hughes, Tyrann Mathieu still a playmaker. Daniel Sorensen is I like him at safety. Juwan Thornhill, Armani Watts, DeAndre Baker. I think there's 4 or 5 guys there that are really solid, and they're playmakers. I mean, they're not. They give up some yards for sure and some big plays, but I think they make enough plays, and they've gotten a lot better as the year's gone on. Because their offense, I wouldn't say it took a massive step back, but their offense was figured out a little bit kind of mid-season there. So the defense had to step up, and they did. So and a lot of that was this back end. So
yeah, that's a good group, and obviously with DeAndre Baker getting his break after his potential criminal prison time cut from the Giants,
kind of incredible he's in the league, but that's all right.
It's incredible, yeah. But I don't know, he's talented, so there's that.
He's good.
With 7. And I still think this is a really good secondary. I'm going to go with the Bills. Levi Wallace, Dane Jackson is maybe a concern at the other starting corner, but it's because Tre'Davious White is hurt. Otherwise, they would be up. I think they'd be higher up on this list. Taron Johnson's a good nickel. And I really like their 4 safeties with Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Jaquan Johnson, DeMar Hamlin, and then Ciaran Neal can be a corner or a safety. So there's some depth there too. But I actually think I could put them – I would almost look at 2 if they had Tre'Davious White.
With the safety group, their problem is that number 2 corner, that might be the worst number 2 corner left.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's the worst number. Yeah, it's the worst number 2 corner in the playoffs right now. So
and they don't. I mean, and Levi Wallace is good, but he's not like he's not Jalen Ramsey to go with that other number. It'd be one thing if you had Ramsey or Jair Alexander to go with a bad number 2, but you don't. So
yeah, it's tough.
So obviously,
49ers.
I have to go with. Who am I going with here?
49ers.
Yeah. Yep. Josh Norman was good.
Washed up now, kind of. Yeah.
Washed up. Ambry Thomas has gotten a lot better. Emmanuel Mosley, Jaquiski Tart, one of the cooler names or weirder names. And they might have the all name.
I love their name list. Yeah.
Diamador, Lenore, Kwan Williams. Athletic group, and Josh Norman. If he's still got it in him, he's still got some ability. And Ambry Thomas, the problem is he's your number 2 corner right now, and he's
he's supposed to be a kick return.
So, supposed to be a kick return specialist right now. So and he's gotten better, and I think he could be a good corner in the league eventually. But because he's got the size and the speed, but not the best group. So
yeah, I mean he had potential. I mean the reason we didn't get to see more is he opted out COVID year, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, I think he could have been one of the as
top
good as
corner
he
in
gets.
Michigan decade.
Top corner, yeah, exactly. So,
who do you gonna pick as the number 1 special teams group?
I am going to go with. This is tough, actually. I'm trying to.
I actually stared at it I actually looked at it for really long. I'm like, why am I spending this much time on special teams?
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. Actually, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I like the 1-2 of Harrison Butker and Tommy Townsend better than any other 1-2. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs.
Okay. Yeah, Chiefs are my number 2 special teams. My number 1 is the Rams, and that's because Matt Gay was the best kicker actually, field goal percentage wise, this year. And Johnny Hecker is considerably a legend and the highest paid punter in football. So, that's why I'm going to go.
Johnny Hecker can throw the ball. So,
yes.
Yes. Okay. Next, I'll go with. Love any of these punters anymore.
Yeah, there's no good punt. I would say the Titans have a good punter, but the kicker,
I'll go with the Bucs. Ryan Succop's been good. Bradley Pinion, he's been fine. So, okay. Yeah, I'll go with the Bucs there.
I mean, Succop was Mr. Irrelevant. He's still in the league. So that says something.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Accurate. So, I mean, I think it's, I don't know.
Not the strongest leg in the world, but he's definitely accurate.
Yeah, and he's been around forever. I was blown away. I forgot Robbie Gould was still in the league until I saw him kicking the other day. I'm like, wait a minute.
So he was actually hurt for half the year. They brought in Joey Sly, who's been on like 3 teams during the year. So, and Joey Sly actually had over a 90% field goal success percentage this year and made more field goals than Robbie Gould. So it's kind of a surprise that he's technically not even on a roster right now, Joey Sly. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah, Robbie Gould is actually putting at 4 with Mitch Wisnowski and Taylor Pepper at long snapper. So, yeah, I don't know. Robbie Gould's still hitting above 87.5% field goal percentage.
He was great in that playoff game.
Yeah.
He was great in that playoff game.
I'm surprised he's still, I think he's probably one of the older kickers left, isn't he? I think he's even older than Mason Crosby. So,
yeah, probably. I'll go with Mason Crosby and the Packers next. Mason Crosby is so Jekyll and Hyde, but I think he's got that experience in the playoffs. So, and then Corey Bajorquez is not bad. So
he's the only black punter in this playoffs. So,
yep, exactly. We need Marquette King back.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's another. I think the leading punt. I think he only had like 3 punts all year, but he's the leading punter in football this year on 3 punts with average wise was a black punter. So there's a few in the league, but they're on the up. Good grief! After I had 6 here, then I will go with man a lot. I'm gonna go with Evan McPherson. I mean, a rookie kicker from Florida, and he was actually a top 5 kicker statistically this year. And then Kevin Huber has been a punter in the league for a while. And Clark Harris has actually made 2 Pro Bowls as a long snapper. By that, I know it means literally almost nothing, but Evan McPherson has shown a ton of potential as a kicker in the NFL. So,
yeah, I mean, I like McPherson. He's been incredibly accurate this year. So, it doesn't get talked about a lot, obviously, with the Bengals offense. But, so who's last? The Titans?
Bills and Titans.
Yeah, Bills and Titans. I'm actually I'll go with the Titans here. I like Randy Bullock better than Tyler Bass. Matt Hacks, he's been around forever too. And then Brett Kern, Morgan Cox for the Titans here. So
I actually think Brett Kern is the second best punter in the playoffs behind just Johnny Hekker. So
yeah, Randy Bullock isn't that great of a kicker. So
yeah, I mean, there's a reason the Lions cut him. So
yeah.
All right. Then to finish it out with coaching. And we will not be doing the top 10 mock draft just for the sake of time. We'll do that next week. Because we just can't anytime, really. So coaching, number 1 group for me is going to be the Chiefs. Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, and Steve Spagnuolo. All those, like Bieniemy and Spagnuolo, are all our head coaching candidates this year again.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of speaks volumes as coordinator, and obviously Andy Reid, I think, is probably the best coach, and right next to Bill Belichick. So really,
yeah. I'll go with Arians and the Bucs next. It's actually an argument with him and them and the Bills, in my opinion. But the experience of Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich, both of those guys could be head coaches next year. As well. So I'll go with Arians got the monkey off his back last year, win the Super Bowl, and he was Super Coach of the Year. I mean, he's a really good coach. I really like him. So with the Bucs here.
Yep, it's kind of right in step. I'm going to take the Bills next. Sean McDermott just continues to rise as a top coach in this league. Brian DeBull and Leslie Frazier, again, 2 coordinators that may be a head coach next year.
Yeah. Number 4, this is where it gets a little bit different. I am going to go with the Packers, Matt LaFleur, Nathaniel Hackett, and Joe Barry. LaFleur, to me, McVay, and like Zach Taylor are all not that far off. I'll give McVay and LaFleur above Taylor for sure, just because of the experience. And McVay and LaFleur, in my opinion, are just kind of neck and neck. I know McVay obviously, has gotten further, got to the Super Bowl, but I think some of his stuff has been figured out a little bit. So to this point, so yeah.
It kills me to leave him, Mike Vrabel off this list, but his coordinators are so doggone awful. Yeah. I think I'm going to go with McVay and the Rams next year. Kevin O'Connell, my offensive coordinator, and Raheem Morris, defensive coordinator.
I like Raheem Morris.
Yeah, I think that, and again, O'Connell and Morris have all been interviewed for head coaching jobs, so there's a lot of talent there. And McVay is just one of those top young coaches in the NFL.
Yeah, I'll go with Vrabel next, based off of just Vrabel.
No.
Not Downing, Shane Bowen. I mean, I'm sure they're smart guys, and they've not
a lot of experience. Just not a lot of experience.
Yeah, not a lot of experience. They could end up interviewing for jobs in a year or two, and they could be the next top head coach, candidate. But they're not. They just the experience isn't there, and they're overshadowed by their head coach a little bit here. So, but I think I like Vrabel a lot. So I think he deserves to be here. Kind of, like you said, it's kind of hard to even leave him this low, but the depth of the coordinators for the other teams are just so good. So
yeah, I agree. 49ers, I'm gonna go with it 7. Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel at OC, and DeMeco Ryans, former linebacker for the Texans at DC. And DeMeco Ryans is actually getting interviews too for head coach. And I always think Shanahan's probably still a top 8 coach in the league. So. I mean, again, a lot of these coaches here, I would say, with the exception of, Zach Taylor, and even Taylor's on the rise now, but they were all the top 10 coaches in our list.
Yeah, I like Zach Taylor. I was quite skeptical when he got hired, but like they've stuck with him, and I really like his mind, and I think he's a really good head coach. Actually, they gave him time though. That's kind of where like I'm looking at it with like the Lions. It's like, all right, just give Dan Campbell a little bit of time, and let's see. Don't abandon ship so early that you don't give him enough time. So we'll see where it goes, but I really think Zach Taylor is he's talented. So his coordinators, they aren't.
Yeah, Brian Callahan and Lula Runamo, but that's I don't like that. Yeah. But Zach Taylor's on the up, and maybe he can swap those guys out at some point. I don't think
Callahan for that team, right?
Callahan's
the offensive play caller, isn't he?
Callahan got one interview too, I think. So
did he?
I mean that speaks volumes.
Doesn't Zach Taylor call the plays on offense for that team though?
He does, yeah.
He's okay.
Well, Callahan only got one interview, and he's probably at the bottom of that team's list. So I don't know where that's going to go, but that'll be interesting to see where kind of all these go. I know on I had my personal list earlier, and there's obviously very top heavy teams. I don't think, and for the most part, I don't think my list was much different than our combined list. But the Packers, Chiefs, Rams, and Bucs are like the top teams, and 3 of those 4 are NFC teams. So it'll balance out. Technically the second best AFC team is the Titans. So that still speaks volumes to why on paper, they're number 1 seed, and maybe why some of their position groups are a little more lacking. But
I mean, they're solid. But some of their position groups are towards the bottom. But I think Derrick Henry just changes the game for them. Without Derrick Henry, I don't know. But again, they've done well without him. So it's interesting.